Hey, Brother Roy here, Old School Bible Baptist Ministries. Going to take a little departure from the regular programming today, and I'm going to tell you a war story. Listen, it is not my intention to glorify bad behavior, but this is, on my way to racking up that rap sheet, that criminal record, 4 times in prison, 12 felony convictions, 2 habitual criminal enhancements, and 2 escapes. Hey, I got stories. And this is one that anybody that's ever heard it and they get around, they always like, man, tell them. Everybody wants to hear the story again or have me tell somebody else's story. So I thought, you know what? I'll just tell y'all. I'll put it here on video. Tell y'all this story one time, and it's like stranger than fiction. It's one of those hard to believe, one in a million, and I want to link it up to one of my favorite sayings, which I got from Dr. Bill Grady, which is a coincidence is just God's way of remaining anonymous, right? So, uh, backtrack, 1984. Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and this is back when I was running guns and dope and with the biker gang. I'd already got saved, went to Bible college, and anybody knows my testimony, and ran into those disappointments, and I quit on God, went back to the old life, and this is just this is how God put the brakes on me. All right. Uh, uh, Once you get saved, you cannot be successful in sin any longer. Amen. You can't run from somebody that lives inside of you, I always say. But this is just a story of how God put the brakes on and something that happened later way down the road. So Hattiesburg, Mississippi, I burglarized a gun store because we were trading guns for dope and whatnot. And I got told on, went to jail, and the next morning at jail, this is a Forest County Regional Jail Complex in Hattiesburg, Mississippi in 1984. And I get called downstairs and I get in an office. And in the office, there was this great big, I mean, this guy was like in the movies. He was like 7 foot tall, 350 pounds. Hey, Captain Bill Mills, head jailer for the Forest County Regional Jail Complex in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And this guy was a monster. And I mean, just like out of the movies, when you go down south, you in big trouble, boy. He was that guy, right? And he was scary. And I got in there, and he told me, he said, boy, he said, I have a personal interest in one of those handguns that you stole. It turns out one of those guns out of that gun store that I stole was an antique 38 revolver worn by Teddy Roosevelt at the Battle of San Juan Hill. He's like, that was my gun, and I had it in there on consignment, and where is my gun? Well, and I traded that gun for some cocaine back in New Orleans a couple of days ago, so I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, Captain, but that's gone, right? So needless to say, he was not my biggest fan. All right. So a couple of days go by. It's time for me to go to an appearance in the court. Now, the court, this is the little Forest County, Hattiesburg. It's a little place, right? So the jail is just across the street from the courthouse. Courthouse is an old building, little 3-story building. On the top floor, there's one courtroom, and the judge is Tricky Dicky McKenzie. And so what they do is they belly chain and leg shackle you up, and they march in the little line of prisoners across the street from the jail into the courthouse, and then you go up, and then right outside of the courtroom you have your jury deliberation room. You've seen that, the room with the big table. And so they march all of us into the jury deliberation room and sit us around that jury table. Now, I guess there was a law about you can't appear before the judge in cuffs and shackles because it gives the appearance of guilt. So while we're sitting at that table, once they get us in there, they unshackle us all. So now we're not cuffed, we're not shackled. We're all just sitting around that jury table. And so the bailiff, the guard is standing in that doorway, so he can see us and he can see out in the courtroom. So when they call for a name, he'll turn and say, "Hey, you go," and the guy, "You sit," he's directing traffic in the doorway. Now I'm sitting with my back against the wall, and there's some draperies behind me, right? Like heavy velvet maroon draperies. And I reach behind me between the drapes, and there's one of them old, it's an old building, one of them old slide up windows, right? Behind me. I feel it in the drape. I get my fingers in there and I slide it up. Now behind the drapes, I got an open window behind me. And so, hey, next time the guy in the doorway was looking, turning, talking in the courtroom, hey, I just faded into those drapes, went out the window onto the second story roof, from second story roof to the ground. Man, I took off running. I got a few blocks away. I got up under a house, and this, in Mississippi, they build the houses up off the ground because of flooding. And this was in the fall, so there was just a ton of dead leaves. Man, I got all the way up under that house. I pulled a bunch of dead leaves around me, and I'm like, I'm gone. I did that thing, man. I'll wait till nightfall, and I'll make my move. But see, I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. And Las Vegas, Nevada is a very dry place. There is very little moisture molecules in the air. And so what you don't have in the dry desert are hunting dogs. I didn't know about hunting dogs because scent molecules are in the moisture molecules. And so where there's no moisture, there's no smell. I didn't know about that. So I'm thinking I got away, man. They'll never find me. I started hearing, "Roo, oh, oh, oh." Man, them Mississippi tracking dogs, they brought them right to me, man. Hey, they pulled me out from under that house. Local TV cameras are rolling. Got me back to the jail. They brought me in the back door of the jail. And there was Captain Bill Mills standing in the doorway of that jail. That's the only time I ever saw that man smiling. He had a big old grin on his face. They brought me in there, and they had this little closet-like cell down there with nothing but just a hole to poop and pee in. There was no windows on it. There was no drinking fountain. I mean, it was just a closet with a hole in the ground. He brought me in there, and him and another boy almost as big as him. Now I was handcuffed, and I had kind of long hair. Man, they each got a hold of one of my arms and a handful of my hair. When they started putting my head into that concrete wall, boom, 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 man. Hey, until they were out of breath, then they dropped me on the ground and they started putting the boots. They started stomping and kicking me. Hey, probably 15 minutes of that, man. Hey, I met Mr. Butt Whooping that day. And so I was left there lying on that concrete floor. Hey, they left me there for 2 weeks while the swelling went down before they even let anybody look at me. Hey, about 15 minutes after they got done whooping on me, the door opens again, and there's Captain Bill Mills, and there's the judge, Tricky Dicky McKenzie, standing there, and the judge says, what happened to him? The captain says, looks like he's been beating his head against the wall. The judge said, well, hey, make sure he gets medical attention. We wouldn't want to violate his rights. And they're, door slammed. It didn't open again for 2 weeks. So there was some trustees out there sweeping and stuff, kind of saw what happened with me, but, they're not getting involved or anything. But so I end up going through the thing, and I get a burglary charge and an escape. I got 4 years for burglary, 3 years for escape. They sent me to Parchman Farm, Mississippi State Penitentiary, just like in the movies with the cotton fields and I mean all of that. That was my first prison, was the Mississippi State Penitentiary. So I got there, and see, everybody works in the cotton fields out there. And but the thing was, I was educated. See, I know how to type and stuff. So I ended up landing a job behind the desk in the reception and diagnostic in the intake, right? Where they process the prisoners in and out. That's where I worked. I had my desk. And also, I went and started going to the law library. I started reading law, and it got a book called The Prisoner's Self-Help Litigation Manual. And I got that thing. I learned how to file lawsuits. I filed a 1983 P3 civil rights violation lawsuit against them down there for beating me like they did in the jail. And then I have the list of who's coming to prison, who's getting out. This is old days. I'm on an IBM Selectric 3. I'm having to type up all this paperwork up on all this stuff. That was my job. So I see that these two dudes that were trustees in the jail and were there and saw them beat me up like that. I saw that they were coming into prison finally to do their prison time. So I typed up some statements, right, for them to sign of what they saw. And so the day they got to prison, right, and they're getting stripped out, and they shaved your head back. They shaved their head, they stripped them out, they fingerprinted them, and then they had to come over and sit down, and I had to type up their paperwork. I had questions asked. And when they sat in that chair right there, I whooped out them statements, sign that, homeboy. And they did. So now I had my lawsuit together. I had my eyewitnesses, and I had my lawsuit going against Captain Bill Mills, Forest County Regional Jail Complex, for stomping the you-know-what out of me. So anyways, the years go by. I get a parole back to Las Vegas. I did an interstate. Okay, I came home. I did an interstate parole back to Vegas, and I got to Vegas, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just glad to be out of prison. And so, Tricky Dicky McKenzie, the judge, he calls me in Vegas after I'm out, and he's like, Roy, I just want you to know that there was nothing personal. We all just doing our job, and he goes, I'm seeing all of this legal work and this lawsuit you filed, and it's very scholarly work. And if there's anything I can ever help you with in life, and blah, blah, blah. And that was very nice. I said, okay, man, I thank you, Judge. And so God kind of touched my heart. I said, you know what? I dropped the lawsuit. I said, you know what? Because, hey, the last thing I heard on the lawsuit was what we call interrogatories and admissions, right? It's like a questioning thing. And when I had sent that to Captain Bill Mills for him to answer these questions, kind of like a deposition, a written deposition. And what I got back was Captain Bill Mills is unable to answer these interrogatories and admissions because Captain Bill Mills is no longer employed by the Forest County Sheriff's Department, and whereabouts of Captain Bill Mills are unknown at this time. So now we're in like 1986, 1987. So I've got out of Mississippi, come back to Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm on parole in Las Vegas. That was like 1987. So anyways, I'm in the midst of my mess. By 1989, I'm in prison in Nevada, right? So 89, 90, 91, 92, I'm in prison in Nevada. I get out in 1992, and so I'm on parole, and in Nevada again. And so 90, 93, 94, 95, 96, roll around, maybe 96, 1996, 1997, something like that, roll around. And by this time, they've taken my parole to like minimum custody. I only got to come in every 90 days. So I got to go in there 4 times a year. I'm on minimum supervision. I've been out for years, haven't had any trouble. And so 4 times a year, I got to go to the parole office. So I go to the parole office in, like I said, I'm gonna guess this is probably 1997. 96 or 97. I go in the parole office. I go up to the counter, and I'm like, okay, I've heard the report. And she goes, oh, okay, yeah, this is your new officer. Oh, there he is now. And so I look, and guy's like, Bill, And so I follow him back. We sit down in the office, and I kind of think he looks kind of familiar. I was like, I've probably seen him around the office before. And so I start, I'm a talker, right? I see he's got some like Rush Limbaugh, stuff, patriotic stuff on the wall behind him. And I'm like, hey, yeah, I like Rush too. I'm trying to, hey, this dude's cold fishing me hard, man. And after a while, he just looks up at me and says, you don't remember me, do you, boy? And he had a little rack of his business cards there. I went, Bill Mills, training officer for the Nevada Department of Parole and Probation. You got that right. 10 years later, 2,000 miles across the country, and here's Captain Bill Mills from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, sitting across the table from me as my new parole officer. Listen, a coincidence is just God's way of remaining anonymous. That's crazy, huh? I mean, grow up in Las Vegas, go to high school, and there's people that you went to school with, that were in high school with you, and they never left town. But you never run into them again in life. And what are the chances of this? Listen, but that's what they do in corrections and law enforcement. When a cop or the officer gets in trouble in one jurisdiction, they just ship him across the country and bury it. And that's what happened. That's why, they didn't know where he was in Mississippi. He had so many lawsuits for beating up so many people back there that he had to go across the country and get a job with a different department. I mean, that's just how they shuffle those guys around. But, so once we said that, he's like, you don't remember me, do you? He said, you don't remember me, do you, boy? And I said, man, I said, Captain, I remember you very well. I just didn't recognize you. And this is what he said. He said, Mr. Bell, I believe you and I have a little bit too much personal history, and I'm going to have you transferred to another officer. I said, that's good with me, Captain. And that's what we did. And as an end note, it might have been 3 months later or 6 months later, I don't remember. But I was in the office, sitting out there on a bench, just for my little 4-time-a-year appointment. I was sitting out there waiting to go back for an officer to call me back. And he walked by. He said, Bell. I was like, Captain? And that's the last time I saw him or talked to him. So, hey, is that crazy? What in the world are the odds of that, huh? That's my stranger than fiction coincidence story. Hey, man. Hey, just telling a war story today. Nothing serious. I hope that was amusing or a blessing to you, and just understand that hey, God's hand is in and behind everything, and man, you never know what's going to happen and what He's going to do. Amen. God bless you. We'll see you in the next one.